Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Mordian Glory video. And before we get into today's video, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Chris Campbell for sending in some awesome pictures of his Imperial Guard forces battling it out against the arrogant and upstart Tau. These Tau forces were smashed, they were tabled by turn 3, and there's nothing that makes me happier than seeing Tau getting crushed by the Emperor's finest. Where's your god now, Tau? That's right, you haven't got one, you bloody heathen. Just goes to show that faith in the Emperor is truly all that you need to conquer the galaxy. Mass thank you for Chris sending these pictures, and they look absolutely fantastic. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, then please post them on my Facebook, or you can email them to me at mordianglorytv@gmail.com. And don't worry, if you are like me and you're an Ogren who has not had his bonehead surgery yet, there will be links and emails down in the description below. Without further ado, let's crack on with today's video. So the other day, a conscript by the name of Phil French went onto my Facebook page and was like, I went to a tournament with my guard and I didn't seem to be able to get past turn 2. I kept timing out, I kept running out of time, and it was really, really bad, and I'm really, really sad. Please, can you help me? Now, normally, as a British man, it is against my nature to help anything with the word French in it. But in this case, this is a guardsman in need, and I'm willing to make an exception, even if it means I'm going to have to do an extra hour of long word practice and 10 more prayers to the Queen. So, Phil, I'm going to answer your question today, and it's going to be a video about how to play faster, some tips and tricks that I have developed over the years for how to improve your speed at the tournament table, because there's nothing like playing under pressure and playing under time to make you a faster player. Now, bear in mind, guys, what are my qualifications for giving this advice? Well, I went to a tournament with 365 infantry models and my opponents timed out before I did. I had plenty of time left on my chess clock. So they are my bona fides if you are so interested. Now let's just dive straight into this. So the first tip I'm going to give you is quite simple. No one got good at anything without practice. If you've ever watched any of those bullshit motivational videos on YouTube where Arnold Schwarzenegger's like, you've just got to sleep faster and all that kind of stuff, he's right at the end of the day. No one was successful, no one got good at anything without practice. And you are not going to get better at being fast at 40k without practice. Practice, practice, practice. There's no other main tip I can give you. If it's the one thing you take away from this, it's just practice. Okay? By practicing, you will get more familiar with your army. By practicing, you'll get more familiar with your rules. But by practicing, you will get more confident. You'll be able to make more decisions. You will just start doing things instinctively. You will stop thinking and you will start doing. And so practice, practice, practice is very, very important. If you're preparing for a tournament, then you need to be going into that tournament with at least 5 practice games under your belt with that list. That's how long it takes. You'll get a good idea after the first game, but it'll take you at least 3, realistically at least 5 games to be fully confident and fully familiar with the list that you are using. So that is my advice. Practice, 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 and then technically it's 5 times, so practice, practice. Right, so that's the first one. The second, so that just comes down to like general advice, okay? Getting a little bit more specific, okay? Standardization. Now, those of you that have been around my channel for a while will know that I talk about these things like homogenization and distillation and standardization. There are all these terms that I use. Basically, when you are using your list, when you're building your list, you want to have as few variations of each unit as possible. So that doesn't mean you turn up with only conscripts, although I did do that one time. But that doesn't mean you turn up with only conscripts or only tanks. What that means is, for each unit type you have on the board, so let's say you've got 3 Leman Rusters, let's say you've got 10 infantry squads, for example, you don't want to have more than 2 variations of each one of those unit types. So, for example, you don't want to have your 3 or 4 Leman Rusters, and the first one's got a demolisher cannon and then 2 heavy flamer, and the next one's got a demolisher cannon, but then like a las cannon and 2 heavy bolters, and the next one's got like a battle cannon and plasma cannons and then a heavy bolter, and the next one's got an eradicator. There's too many variations. Realistically, if you can, you want to keep stuff down to 1 variation. I'm going to a tournament this weekend with my Met Guard, and I'm running 3 tank commanders. Every single tank commander has got a demolisher cannon and a heavy flamer. That is it. Okay? By keeping your units standardized, It will allow you to get much more comfortable with what they've got, with how their weapons work, and what you can expect from each unit. The other thing is you're not having to like look at the model and be like, oh, what weapon does this Demartial one have again? Oh, this is the one with the heavy bolters. Oh, what's this one got? Oh, this is the one with the plasma cannons. No, you know from a distance, if it's a Demolisher tank, it has these weapons. Okay, it's very simple. Same with the infantry squads are a really big problem for a lot of guard players, because they'll take an infantry squad and they'll have like 10 different squads and 10 different variations. You know, one will have a sergeant with a lance pistol and a chainsaw, one won't have a Voxcaster, one won't have a heavy weapon, one won't have a special weapon, one will have all the trimmings, one will have half trimmings. No, you know, if you're taking 10 infantry squads, then at most you want 2 variations. Again, when I am building my pure infantry armies, I will often have my infantry squads, all like 12 to 18 of them, equipped identically. Okay, I will have 18 las cannon, plasma gun, plasma pistol, power sword, Voxcaster squads. Okay, I will do that. Okay, and that's with an army with huge amounts of infantry. Okay, I still standardize, because you cannot be like having to pick models up and go, shit, is this the squad that's got the plasma gun? Oh no, this is the one with the melter gun. Oh shit, you know, especially when you've got massive infantry as guard can do. Standardization and homogenization is key. Absolutely key. And this other term that I've used called distillation. Okay, distillation is, it links to standardization and practice. It keeps those two things together, right? So practice is where you're using a list, but you don't want to keep, if you identify a weakness in the list, you don't want to just leave that weakness in there, okay? You want to distill the list down. You want to weed out the elements you don't want and the ones that you do want, okay? So distillation walks hand in hand with standardization, and you go through the process of list distillation by practicing. You see, it's almost like I know what the fuck I'm talking about when I'm linking all these things together, okay? Sorry to get arrogant and big-headed for a while. Maybe it's all the bloody arm pumps I've been doing on fucking live stream, but I link these things together, okay? And they all work together. There's all a reason, okay? It's all connected. You know, Pepe Silva, it's all connected. Anyway, moving on. As part of practice, as part of standardization, you will then be able to develop a game plan. Okay? Now, game plans are very, very important, because when you're building a list, you need to be thinking, why am I putting this unit in the list? Okay? Am I just chucking it in? Am I limited by my model collection? Is that why I'm putting it in? Or do I actually have a reason for what this unit's going to do? Okay, and then you want to have a battlefield role for your units, okay? And then that's going to feed into your game plan. So, for example, when I am deploying my army on the battlefield, I actually, you know, this is crazy, and a lot of people will tell you this is wrong, okay? But they're not guard players, okay? When I'm playing my guard, I deploy my army pretty much exactly the same way every single time. I hide as much stuff outside of ruins, I have screening units up front, I make sure my heavy hitters are within one movement phase of being able to cover a lane of fire, okay? That is my same deployment every single time. And my opponents are like looking where I'm putting stuff. And I'm like, I have had tournament games where I'm like, dude, I just want to get this game started. Do you mind if I just deploy everything down? I don't care if you counter deploy me, because I'm not actually going to influence my deployment based on what you do. I'm just going to deploy down because I have a standard template deployment. I have done that. My opponent's gone, yeah, sure, mate, if you want to do that, thinking that I'm fucking myself. But actually, I'm not. I'm just saving time. We're on a chess clock. I just bang that chess clock on me, deploy everything down in one go, bang it off, and then now he can waste his time trying to counter deploy. I don't care. I've got my game plan. You know, I've been given my packet of orders from high command. I'm going to execute those out. Now, it's important to remember that no plan survives contact with the enemy. So when I'm talking about having a game plan, you don't want to be like, I'm going to exactly move this to here and this to here, and I'm going to, you know, map it all out. No. You want to have like a general idea, okay, of like, right, I'm going to be advancing here. You know, these units are going to push forward here. I want to be kind of in this position by turn 3, but it's not the end of the world. Because you don't know what you're going to face. So you can't exactly plan every move and counter move, but you can have a general idea of, you know, your game plan could be as simple as I'm building this list to not win in turns 1 and 2, but to draw my opponent in, and then I'm going to claw the game back turns 3, 4, 5. That is a vague game plan, but that is an absolutely valid game plan, because you know what your deployment's going to be, and you know what your end goal is going to be. That's enough for a game plan, okay? But the point is, you shouldn't be turning up to the battlefield and be trying to figure out what your army does and how you're going to deploy it and what each role of each unit is going to be at the fucking table, you need to know what that is before you've ever set foot in that gaming establishment, okay? That's the game plan. On top of this, there's in-game planning and reacting, okay? Now, how many turns do you have in Warhammer 40k? You've got, what, 5 of your turns? Wrong! You have 10 turns. You have your turn and you have your opponent's turn, okay? And you need to be using your opponent's turn to plan your next turn. You don't want to just be... What a lot of players do is they execute their moves and their shoots and their assaults, and then they do their turn, they put their dice down, and it's like they switch their brain off. And they're just daydreaming and they're thinking about big titty towel girlfriends and big titty Eldar girlfriends and all that kind of stuff. No! Firstly, heresy. You should be thinking of big titty sisters of battle girlfriends, obviously, and female space marines. Like that's just a given. But what you should be doing is looking at what your opponent's doing. And you should be thinking, right, he's done this. What am I going to do in my turn to counter it? Right, he's moved his Custodian's bikers round to the left flank. That means when it comes over to my turn, I'm going to need to move my Lehman Rush Demolisher over there, and I'm going to need to be able to counterfire into those Custodian's bikes. You need to be using your opponent's turn to react and plan into your own turn. If you just sit there and then suddenly switch the brain back on and are like, oh, you've done all these things. How am I going to counter that? No. You are already minutes behind, my good man. That's not a way to do it. So in-game planning is very, very important as well. You need to be using your opponent's turn to plan what you're going to be doing in your turn. So the next thing that we need to talk about is logistics. Oh yeah, some of you guys have got really hot under the collar there. Some really uncomfortable feeling in some Guard players' trials right now. Oh my god, logistics is fucking perfect. Fucking American Psycho moment. Jokes aside, logistics is really important, okay? And it comes down to all sorts of things. It might be a simple case of, are you rolling 120 dice from unit of conscripts? Well, you don't want to be rolling those on the table. They're going to be falling off the table. They're going to hide behind units. They're going to be stuck in units. No. Dice tray. Boom. Done. They're all going in one place. Your opponent can see them. Easy peasy. You might also want a dice cup. I have a dice cup for rolling dice with my conscripts. You can fit 6 dice in it. You can give it a good shake and I can roll the dice out. Makes it super easy. You also can have things like, right, some players make this mistake where they're like, okay, Alpha Squad has got to stick together, and Alpha Squad has got, Sergeant Jeff and Special Weapon Gunner Jim and all. No, fuck all that. Fuck Jeff. Fuck Jim. Right? Basically, that squad is made up of 5 riflemen, some special weapons, heavy weapons, and sergeants. Right? That's what that squad's made up of. So what I have done in the past is I've had like a tray next to me on the table, in like there's always space in between tables, or like a little movable trolley or anything like that, and that has just had like ice cream cartons or Chinese takeaway cartons on it, right? And obviously they've cleaned them out. I'm not just throwing guardsmen into ice cream. Well, that might be a quite interesting idea. But the point is what happens is when you lose a rifleman, you don't worry about making sure they're going back in the right squad. You go, this is a rifleman, this goes in the rifleman tub. This is a special weapon, this goes in the special weapon tub. Because remember, you've only got like 2 variants of special weapons, so you shouldn't need to worry about putting 10 different special weapons together. It should be just like all the plasma guns are going in here. Oh, a sergeant's died, all the sergeants go in here. A Voxcast died, all the sergeants. So you have like 4 or 5 tubs on like a little tray or a little trolley next to you, and you're just like, yeah, chucking guardsmen into those tubs. Makes it super quick. A lot of people who use, speaking of trays, a lot of people have movement trays as well. Now there are 2 kinds of movement tray. You have the one that you have for your units where you can fit like 10 guys into like a little MDF or plastic tray that allows you to move 10 guys at once. They're pretty good, not gonna lie. That's how I got through 365 conscripts in the tournament. But the other kind of movement tray you can have is just like a dinner tray, and basically it allows you to put your whole army on it. So you don't have to like unpack and pack your army between games. Like you get your tray out, you put your case somewhere safe for the day, maybe you put it back in your car or something, and you're just moving things around the gaming hall on your tray. Makes it much easier. Most people use trays these days, and it doesn't need to be like a special display board or anything like that. I have a sickly lime green dinner tray. I have no idea where I got it from. I think I just found it and when I was renting a place or something. It just came to the place and I just kept it. It's really big. It can fit a whole tank company on it. That's what I use to move my guys around, the green tray of doom. Now there are dozens and dozens of sort of logistics aids you can get, but those are just some that I've given an example of. And so it's to give you an idea of, it's not just about what's in your list or your way of playing, it's about real world logistical support, okay? So whatever logistical aids you think you need, as long as it's speeding you up, that's what you want to be taking advantage of. Now the last point I want to make here, and it's probably one of the most important ones, and it's one that I see a lot of players making mistakes on, and I have to catch myself from, well, stop myself from doing this, right? Just be decisive. Indecision is the killer of so many players and so many games. Okay, indecision is bad. Now, you just need, it doesn't mean you need to be rushing decisions, but like, give yourself 30 seconds. 30 seconds is way too long. Give yourself 10 seconds and just be like, look, I'm not sure what to do. There's 2 or 3 options I've got here. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to pick one. Okay? I'm just going to do this, and if it works, and it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. That might lose me the game. It's fine. I've just made a decision. I have been decisive. Now, at first, you will be decisive and you will screw yourself, okay? You will make mistakes. Be aware of that. But if you've been practicing, you're making these decisive mistakes in your practice games, okay? And once you've played enough games and you've practiced enough and you've been decisive enough, you'll start to have the instinct, the gut feeling. You'll just know, you'll be like, I did that last time I charged my Lehman Russ into combat and it has all blast weapons. That was a mistake. I shan't do that again. I shan't be decisive in that way again. I know what to do now. So decisiveness is very important. Yes, being over decisive can lose you games, but at least you made a decision. At least you sped the game up, and if it cost you the game, then at least you've learned that now, and next time you'll make the decisive decision the right way. Okay, so decisiveness is important. It is often better to make a wrong or slightly less efficient decisive move than to make the perfectly efficient move that took you an hour. Okay? Often it is better to be slightly less efficient and slightly more decisive. Because not every decisive move is going to be game losing, don't get me wrong. It just might be that, oh, you could have moved somewhere else and maybe 2 Lehman Russes could have fired at a target rather than 1. Okay, yeah, you've been slightly inefficient there, but it's not the end of the world because you at least got one of those Russes to fire rather than neither of them firing because you spent 2 hours deciding where you needed to move them. Okay, so decisiveness is important. And that's all for today's video. Now, I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please consider giving it a like and a subscribe and a comment. Oh, I know I'm shilling out for likes and subscribes now, guys. But to be totally honest and upfront with you guys, any extra interactivity that you can give this video gives it a big boost on the all-knowing, omniscient YouTube algorithm. All praise be to the algorithm. So, so it would be really, really appreciated if you could give it that like, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff, boys. And if you've really enjoyed today's video and want to go the extra mile when it comes to supporting the channel, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. It's thanks to the channel members and Patreon supporters that I'm able to go to tournaments and play lots of games and give you this kind of advice. Also, we now have a Mordian Glory Discord, and if you are a channel member or Patreon supporter, then you get access to that Discord. So there's good bits for me and there's good bits for you too, as any good relationship should be. Am I right, lads? Anyway, massive thank you to all of my current Patreon supporters and channel members. It's absolutely incredible. So I want to say a shout out to all of the latest channel members and Patreon supporters. So massive thank you to True Elite Geek, Che, Ocho Miniatures, Kirby Tucker, Justin Coquillian, Lady Cubed, Yaku Kays, Kaylee Roxner, and Thomas McDonald for becoming channel members. Thank you guys for doing your part. And I want to say a big thank you to the latest Patreon supporters as well. So big thank you to Wasted13, the Iceni Chief, FPS Gaz, Ickbard, Verado255, Feros, James P, Zilliard, Max Zizu, and Naril. Massive thank you to all of you guys. Appreciate the support on Patreon. Now, before we go, I want to say a personal, serious, heartfelt thank you to all of my top tier Patreon supporters. These are the people that have truly gone above and beyond when it comes to supporting the Morning Glory channel, and quite frankly, their generosity is mind-blowing. So massive thank you to Alex Stengal, John Stubbs, Nicholas Walsh, Swordfish Trombone, August Varney, Diesel Fox, Ross Miller, and Tom Sutton for being top tier Patreon supporters. These are people that under the old system were commissars and lord generals and who are now war masters under the Patreon 2.0. These are the people, these are my top tier supporters. So guys, just thank you. Thank you for all your support over the years, all your generosity. Honestly, it makes a huge difference, guys. So huge thank you. 07 in the comment section for all of those top tier supporters, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.